begin with a public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant or the representative wishing to speak must register and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator at this time. Following the hearing, we will conduct our monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and the town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decisions. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet on the table at the front of the room. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedures will be as follows. After each application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the committee. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations and staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone, state their name, and direct their comments to the committee. Because of the number of applicants tonight, I'm asking that all testimony be brief and to the point. The applicant will have 5 minutes to present the information on their application other than questions from the committee. Anyone else wishing to speak should limit their testimony to 3 minutes, and any rebuttal of the applicant will also be limited to 3 minutes. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearings will be recorded, and the recording will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The committee has looked at all the properties, and the recording will reflect their observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of the committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of the 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. At far left, Joe Piaski, Fred Gallup, Bob Wadle, Terry Dow Pockstead, zoning administrator to my right, and my name is Mark Kirschner. First application that we will hear tonight. Ray and Shelby Miller, Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, have made application for a conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph B, paragraph 18, and 58-454, paragraph 31 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to store a 1992 Sportsman's 35-foot travel trailer in an AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, a 10.0-acre parcel of land known as Lot 4 of Certified Survey Map 5824, being part of the west half of the Northwest Quarter, Section 26, Town 18 North, Range 9 East, Town of Richford. Fire number N802 11th Avenue. Is the applicant present? Would you please come forward? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Ray Miller.
Ma'am?
Shelby Miller.
Thank you. Can you tell the committee anything about what you have there? Or?
Well, we got a 35-foot trailer there and a couple of plastic sheds and a garden and a pool, and that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. The committee has a few questions to ask you. Committee questions?
Sure, I have some questions. Is the trailer licensed and roadworthy?
Yes,
Will the trailer be at least 100 feet from all lot lines?
yes.
Has there been a recent survey on that property?
There was, when we purchased it 3.5 years ago, yes.
Okay, I guess that's fairly recent. Are you sure of the lot lines?
Yes.
And what type of sanitary facilities are you planning on that property?
Right now, we have a porta potty that's rented from Taylor Rental, and I'm working with Vern Wagner to maybe put in something, more permanent instead of the.
A regular septic system? Okay, well, that's the next question, sanitary facilities. Are there any other buildings or structures planned?
Not right now, maybe within the next couple of years, we probably will be, yes. We just
Like,
got it.
for instance, a garage or?
Yes, we
storage?
plan on putting in a shed.
Okay, are there any other trailers in that area?
No,
Will there be need for a new driveway? Or will that driveway that we drove in on the other day suffice for your needs?
that's, yeah, for
And
ours right now, yes.
That will be your way of entry to the property.
Right.
Is this property in a managed forest law? Okay.
I think it's agriculture, is what it is.
Do you have a uniform property address number on that property now, like at the right side of the driveway?
A
A red-
fire number?
Yeah, there's a fire number there, yes.
Okay. And if an approval is granted, when would the trailer be placed?
It's there now.
Okay, yeah, I know that. Okay, I guess that's it for my questions.
Are you hooked up to the well? Is the well water hooked up to your trailer?
No.
Okay.
But what you do, I got a hose to a tank, it's got a holding tank it's got a pump.
Okay, okay, so your gray water is going into that holding tank
Right,
then?
and the toilet's not hooked up
Yeah.
at all.
Okay, okay.
Gray water I usually dump every Sunday when we leave.
Mhm.
Hook up the hose that was sitting there and hook it up and dump it in, and they take that to the house.
Okay, okay.
There's
Any
not
other-
much there, maybe 4 or 5 gallons a week.
Sure, that's fine. Any other committee questions? Joe or Bob? Okay, thank you. Correspondence?
We have no correspondence and no one registered to speak regarding this application.
Staff comments?
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and the other applications that they will be considering tonight. This time, I'd like to explain a little bit about conditional use permits. All defined zones have uses that are permitted outright, along with uses that may be permitted provided certain conditions are met. And that's what we're looking at here and with the other applications tonight. The zoning permits certain things. In the ag zone, you could build a single-family dwelling, but if you want to store a camping trailer when you're not there, unoccupied storage, it has to meet certain criteria, and then you go through the conditional use permit to make sure that it remains in keeping with the surrounding uses and area. It's the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee that this use is still in keeping with the zone and area it is proposed for, and that the conditions placed on it will ensure that it will be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they noted that the trailer is not visible from the public road and is likely not very visible from neighboring properties either, depending on the exact location of the lot lines. We weren't exactly sure where they were. And they also noted that the town board did not have any objection. That's it for my comments.
Is there anything the applicant would like to add? Thank you. Next application that we will hear tonight. Mike Trevino, Pine Ridge Holdings, LLC, Phoenix, Arizona. Matthew Brown, LLC, landowner, has made an application for a conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph B, paragraph 17, and 58-724, paragraph 9 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to establish, in addition to a mental health treatment center, utilizing the existing improvements in a C-S commercial service zone. Location, parcels combined being 108.57 acres of land, being the west half of the southeast quarter and part of the east half of the southeast quarter, lying west of State Road 73, Section 21, Town 19 North, Range 10 East, Town of Wautoma, fire number N3369, State Road 73. Is the applicant present? Yes. Please come forward. Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Mike Trevino.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about what your plans are there, Mike? or-
Yes, I can. My name is Mike Trevino. I am the managing member of Pine Ridge Holdings, and we are in the process of trying to purchase and acquire the former Pine Ridge Resort to convert that to a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week inpatient treatment center for recovery of both alcohol and drug rehabilitation. Right now, the patients will be housed and reside solely in the main facility. We anticipate having a 24-bed recovery treatment center that will be located in the 12 rooms that currently exist. And with me, I also have the Director of Medicine, Dr. Timothy Stack, and also a lead counsel, Stacy Davidson, to answer any questions with regards to the treatment of the patients and service that we may provide.
Would those two want to come up here and state their name for the record, please, also, and in case there's some questions from the committee here?
Stacy Davison, treatment counselor.
Dr. Timothy Stack.
Committee questions, please?
Could you describe the proposed operation in a little bit more detail?
Yes, I can. I'll try to when it comes to the servicing of the patients in terms of hospitality and how they'll be treated on site. Dr. Stack, as Director of Medicine, will answer any medical questions you may have, and Stacy will answer any questions with regards to the in-care patient on a daily basis for counseling. What we're going to provide is a center where people who, not so much going through a formal detoxification process, but through a process of recovering from addiction, will stay with us for a period of between 30 and 45 days to be provided the tools necessary to go forward and leave, hopefully, a clean and sober life. Often, patients get involved with outpatient facilities where they walk into an office and see somebody for an hour or two, and that does have its merits. This is not that. This would be a situation where people will be admitted on a voluntary basis, adults only, to come in for anywhere from 30 to 45 days to go ahead and hopefully gain the opportunity to become clean and sober. We anticipate the bulk of the patients to have both an alcohol addiction and, in most cases today, often addiction to prescription painkillers. Again, it's going to be a peaceful setting where they'll be under 24-hour, 7-day-a-week monitoring. They cannot leave the facility on their own. We have a formal in-charge and discharge procedure in place. Again, the patients themselves will be solely in the main lodge facility, and I'll let you answer more questions in addition to that. Okay, so.
Okay, you said that you were planning on 24 patients. What would you do if you got over that number?
The current licensing program of the state of Wisconsin will allow our facility to go as high as 30. Once you go above 30 patients in this type of facility, you need to go to separate licensing process and become more of a hospital-type environment. We will have, of course, staff in place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We'll have nursing in place 24 hours, 7 days a week. We'll have a doctor on site approximately 4 hours per day, 7 days a week. But a doctor will be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So are you saying you never anticipate going over 30?
We have to go through a whole process of new licensing with the state of Wisconsin, and the answer to that question is yes, we will not exceed 30 patients at one specific time.
What type of issues is the facility anticipated to treat?
Well, it is a voluntary facility. When I say that is that if someone goes through an emergency setting where they have to be admitted to an ER room or because of a withdrawal issue or an overdose issue, that will be handled at a hospital. Our patients will be coming from their hospital or their current outpatient facility, voluntarily requesting to go ahead and be part of an inpatient process at our site. Okay, so they voluntarily come in and hopefully can recover from their addiction. We have no means of making someone stay. What I say that is, if someone wants to be discharged, they have to come back on through the process, be discharged formally, and we'll go ahead and call the person that will pick them up. So again, it's adult only, purely voluntary.
What type of rehabilitation programs will you provide? For example, will there be recreational facilities, job training, intensive counseling, etc.?
Well, we have a counselor here. Let me have her answer those questions because she's far more adept than I am.
The program will be consisted of structured daily activities. It'd be a very structured environment. Start off with breakfast. They'd have group therapy, individual therapy, recreational therapy, some meditation, stress management. So the whole day will be structured to a therapeutic environment.
How many full-time or part-time staff will be needed to operate the facility at its full capacity?
Typically, you have between 4 and 5 patients per counselor, okay? And there'll be, again, with 24 patients, ideally it's about 6 counselors on staff at one time. In addition to this, you're going to have, you allocate about 2 nurses during about an 16 to 18-hour period per day, and you'll have 1 nurse reside mostly at the midnight shift, okay, for emergencies and things. You'll also have housekeeping staff. You're going to have a cooking staff in place. In addition, we'll have an on-site maintenance person for both interior and exterior. So we anticipate approximately about between 25 and 30 either full-time or part-time employees as part of this facility, and that does not include the contracted doctors and things that will be necessary as well.
Will there be a resident manager on site?
The general manager, the operations manager, could live on site, but that has not yet been determined, okay? What we have decided to do is this, is that at the property, you have a bunkhouse, you have an older farming home, and you have what's called a welcome building driving in. We are not going to have patients, of course, stay in those facilities, but because of weather issues and things, we may end up trying to have part of our staff reside on site in inclement weather. That bunkhouse is a great place where they may be, but it will not be a patient. It'll be purely employees and staff. But to answer your question, sir, I'm not sure if the manager itself would be living on site at this point in time.
Could you describe the security system and how it will protect both the residents and the neighbors?
The security system that we have in mind is to go ahead and be a perimeter of the large main facility. There currently are several cameras in place at both lobbies walking in, but those 2 cameras right now are a bit dated and don't quite do the necessary job. So to answer your question, we hope to have a perimeter of exterior cameras to be able to videotape and see what's happening around the main lodge. Most of that area is fairly clear until you get to the forest going back to the south and to both to the east. So, but the intended security are cameras attached to the main structure.
So people are free to come and go?
No.
Is it a lockdown type?
No. Into the main lobby of the building, you have the first set of exterior doors, and then you have a second set of exterior doors. Once you get into that little kind of interim area, you cannot enter into the lobby unless you are the security release going from the lobby from that walk area into the lobby by the receptionist. You just can't walk into the main lodge and say, "Here I am," or leave that way either.
Could you describe the licensing requirements of the state of Wisconsin?
No, I cannot. I can tell you is there's 4 separate licenses involved. It has to do with the community-based residential facilities, and it falls into what's called the larger category because it has more than 21 patients. But I don't, sir, have the numbers or the exact license applications.
So which license would you guys be under?
We'll be under the license called the Large Community-Based Residential Facility, which would, I believe it's 21 patients or above.
What sort of traffic do you anticipate, and what kind of parking you need? I'm sure you got plenty, but
Well, yes.
you have visitors coming and going, or
the bulk of our patients will more than likely come from the larger cities, whether it be Milwaukee or Chicago or Minneapolis. Family and friends are encouraged to go and come and see their loved ones in the facility, but they don't stay overnight at our place. So with a maximum of 24 patients in place, and if everyone the same day had a relative come see them, that'd be 24 cars, I guess, plus the staff in place. So I would say at the maximum, probably 40 to 50 vehicles at one time in the parking lot. and that would be probably an estimate in the high numbers.
You're planning on a sign
On a sign,
up at the highway?
you know, first, the current sign would not be appropriate. The answer is probably not. And if I say that, sir, I mean, it'd be a far smaller sign. It's our intention to be nondescript and not have a lot of people driving through the parking lot and looking and see what we have to offer. That's not a very sound method, I think, for recovery.
What sort of alterations to the current structure will be necessary before you're able to start?
Well, the major changes, of course, will be inside the main facility, and I say that building is over 40,000 square feet, and our needs probably would require less than 2/3 of the size of that building. The major initial changes will be changing the restaurant where all the current booths are and things at new restaurant, and making that into a series of counseling offices. Of course, I mean, I laugh, but the bar and that whole issue has to be eliminated. That's not quite part of it.
I thought maybe.
Okay, so if we serve anything, it'll be a veggie smoothie or whatever, but it won't be what they're used to.
Have you contacted the state building inspector, and do you know what codes you will need to meet any of the alterations and changes being used and proposed for this operation?
We have to go ahead and send in some modifications to the state of Wisconsin as part of our licenses and what we want to do as far as the inside dimensions and offices go. We will go ahead and hire architects or designers to go ahead and let us put those improvements in after Wisconsin State says yes to our license. And at that point in time, of course, provide interior building plans and submit to the city for building permits. There will be no changes to the exterior, and with the exception of trying to figure out different ways to make sure we manage the exits to the main lodge, making sure it matches fire codes and our security needs. So that becomes a bit complicated. The downstairs, for example, rooms have sliding glass doors going outside, okay? And those have to be set up where we don't go ahead and violate any fire laws in case of emergency, people having to leave that room, but also making sure that guest doesn't leave through the sliding glass door. So,
You plan on using some of the outbuildings for other purposes as part of the treatment programs?
no, not right now. We're looking at having the outbuildings solely be for staff residences, and there really isn't a need. Because the current building is so large, if we do decide to go from the 24 patients to the 30, which is a possibility for our license, it will all be done in the interior of the main lodge. And that has to do often with the cost of supervision. You're better off having someone in place to watch, all the patients in one facility versus having to hire another supervisor for the bunkhouse.
Has there been a recent survey of the property?
Yes.
Do you know where all the lot lines are?
I know where the survey is, and I can go ahead and show you, but
If the approval is granted, when would you start construction and/or operation?
ideally, going through the state of Wisconsin licensing process, I would say at best, we're looking at about the first of the year before operations could start. That'd be maybe a bit optimistic.
I guess that's all the questions I have.
Any other questions from the,
No, these are just going to be people that are coming voluntarily, not court-ordered.
Correct. All private pay. Won't be it's a situation where it's a fairly expensive process, but that's
And
our
if there would happen to be a incident where they would have to require hospitalization or something, are they required to have their own insurance to pay for the medical transport and the hospitalization, or no?
First off, the people come into our facility either have a very special insurance plan or it's all private pay. If that person is forced to go ahead and leave our facility to go to a hospital via ambulance, it becomes the obligation of the patient to go ahead and pay that. It's just like every other medical service we're providing in the facility. I've had some discussions with county staff, and in the event that a patient does need an ambulance service from our facility to the hospital, and that patient is billed and that patient doesn't pay, then it becomes our obligation, and we'll go ahead and take care of that obligation financially to the county, and then it's our task to go after them for payment.
Thank you.
Okay?
Any other questions?
I did want to say that Dr. Stack and Ms. Davidson did sign up to speak in favor, so if they had anything to add, we might want to ask them to do it now.
I think Mr. Trevino did a nice job of sort of summarizing the goals. A couple things just to highlight some of the points were made. Number one, this is a voluntary treatment facility. Nobody is being forced here against their will. Nobody's being placed here by court order. So these are people that are motivated. And because there is an expense and there's motivation, so these are motivated people. There's a determination that's going to be made before admission, either from current outpatient facilities or local hospitals, that these are people that aren't able to survive in an outpatient setting. They need the next level above outpatient treatment for addiction, and that's sort of what we are proposing here, is that step up from somebody who can versus somebody who can be treated as an outpatient for their problem that needs more of a secure facility, more intensive treatment, a prolonged period of establishing their sobriety. So that's the goals of this facility. Our goals are to provide very good care so that they have the best opportunity of succeeding. So we have the same concerns that the community has of providing the appropriate security and appropriate safeguards, that we do things safely so everybody comes out healthier and better and happier.
I think they both did a good job explaining the facility. It will be a well-trained staff, very structured environment for the clientele to be successful in.
We'll be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, that's be fine for right now. Thank you very much. Correspondence?
Yes, we have a letter from the town of Watoma addressed to me dated May 1st. It says, Dear Terry, during our May board meeting, we did discuss a request by Mike Trevino. Mike represents a group that would like to convert the old Pine Ridge Resort into a drug and alcohol rehab center. Mike was present and did discuss the potential plans with the town board. There were also a few residents present. With the information presented, the town board has no opposition to this request, and that's signed by Jeffrey Elnett, town chair. And then on June 11th, Amy in our office took a phone call from a neighbor. We don't normally do this, but I'm sure she read it back to him and said, this is what's going to be read. So it said, Charles Heron called regarding the application in the town of Watoma at Pine Ridge. He owns property that borders on the east. He has no objections to the application and thinks the center would be a good business for the community and for Watoma. He thinks that it is a 100% good idea. Charles asked me to put a note in the file to be read at the public hearing as he will be unable to attend. And that's it for correspondence.
Okay, anyone in favor? Or Jeff Nett, speak in favor of this application?
Good evening. My name is Jeff Nett. I'm here on behalf of the town of Watoma. As our letter stated, we have no opposition with this plan as the information was presented to us. We had concerns similar to your questions, concerns, and we believe these would be addressed. The question of and concerns about burden to county services, I think, is in everybody's mind, and we believe these would be addressed or would be worked on. I guess I would like to also mention that with the summertime, we're into a time of year where we get thousands of people coming to campgrounds and cottages across O'Share County. And with that, a percentage of people come with alcohol and drug issues and the associated mental health issues that go with that. And we all have to deal with those. We have no control over those. We just respond to those. So I think this is would be less of a burden than what we see with day-to-day contact with citizens and visitors throughout the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
And then we had 2 people registered to appear and speak for information only.
Lee Seibold?
I believe my concern is the safety factor and what's going in and what's going out. I didn't quite hear, you know, if these people can get in, can get out, because my property is adjoining theirs. So are we gonna have people tramping around through our place, or is it secure? That's my question.
Okay. Thank you. David Peterson.
I'm David Peterson. I live about 3 miles as a crow flies northeast of this property. And I also did attend the town board meeting for the town of Watoma when Mr. Trevino was there. And I'm also the sheriff of Washare County. It's my understanding in talking to staff at Human Services that, and I've read over a draft of agreement that they have discussed with Mr. Trevino, and I guess I'm pleased with that document, and I also am pleased that I understand that there's going to be a further meeting with doctor professional staff tomorrow. My concern, I guess, is that, you know, make sure that the facility is operated on a daily basis by a group of professionals that maintain appropriate Wisconsin license in whatever their field of expertise is. And I guess, you know, the other concern is I was sitting back there thinking about it, you know, when RGCI came into Washare County, one of our concerns was that the people that were being released from that facility would rather than go back to Milwaukee, Chicago, Racine, wherever they came from, that they would then stick around here. And I guess that would be one of my concerns. I don't think it's be as great as with RGCI, but I would like to, I hope they're successful, but if they're not successful, I just assume they went back home and continued on with their life. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
I also trust the committee to make a good decision.
Thank you. Anyone in to object or anything?
Nope.
Staff comments.
Again, the committee has all the information that was furnished, and they visited the site. We have another conditional use. This property happened to be zoned commercial service, and it is a conditional use for what's called a public or semi-public building, which is kind of what this is. It's a treatment facility, a little bit similar to a nursing home or a hospital, but not quite. You know, it's not quite the same, but that's kind of the category that it fits in. So they need to go through the conditional use permit process. When the committee visited the property, they noted that this appears to be a good reuse of the existing structures and amenities. There weren't a lot of other things that came to mind that you could actually put out there except another resort type thing. They noted that there are not a lot of neighboring homes immediately adjacent to the facility, and that the premises appear to be fairly isolated from the neighbors in the road by vegetation. That's it for my comments.
A rebuttal? Maybe you'd like to answer the question? Anything? Okay. Okay, that concludes that application. Next application, Cloud One, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Jeremy and Terry Cabasta, landowners, has made application for conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph B, paragraph 20, and 58-454, paragraph 33 of the Washare County Zoning Code to place a 250-foot self-supporting wireless communication tower and associated utility buildings in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 36.0 acre parcel of land being part of the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter, excluding certified survey map number 3936, section 30, town 18 north, range 10 east, town of Dakota, County Road Y. Applicant present? Yes. Please come forward. State your name for the record, please.
Ray Buildings, Cloud One Wireless.
Can you give us some information on what you plan on doing there?
Sure. What we are in the process of doing is enhancing our mobile and internet service in Washare County, and along with this, we are looking to build as you stated, a 250-foot self-support near the, or in the township of Dakota. And we have looked at other options or possible options in the area, and there's just not a tower to co-locate on. This location was picked to help support our adjacent towers near Richford, to the north, Watoma, and to the south in the, I believe, Green Lake County, Nashero. The property picked was, we worked out a lease agreement with Jeremy and Carrie. We've met all the setbacks required, and we did get permission, or did talk to the township, and they had provided a letter with support. And I guess that's it, unless you have any further questions.
I was going to pass out to the committee
Oh.
just one copy of the,
Sure.
of the plan
Yeah, I
that
can,
you had submitted.
yeah, if this helps, there's,
Yesterday or
so
today.
everybody, and I had, thank you, Terry. I had provided Terry another drawing showing Washera County, and what it does, I think it's a little clearer than some of the RF maps that we've provided in the past, but what it is it's a reference of the towers in the county, plus the blue ones are representing the towers that Bug Tussle is co-locating on currently. As you see in the Dakota area, there really isn't a tower directly near that vicinity, and as I stated before, you can see where it's kind of in our coffee cup design with coverage. Each one of these towers supports about a 5-6 mile radius. So with that said, that tower is placed to help support the Richford, the Watoma, and again to the south, the Nishkoro location, and it fills that area for coverage. In this case, it would be mobile phone service and internet service.
Okay.
I think this is a little bit better map than the ones I've, with the green, so.
Committee questions, please?
What sort of traffic is anticipated once the tower is up and running?
After the main construction project, meaning the cement trucks, the excavation, very minimal. Maybe once a month, if that, for maintenance or service.
Are you sure where the lot lines are?
Very close, just working with the landowner, but part of our process pending the outcome tonight would be a full survey of the property, and I can provide that document to the county after.
Will the proposed tower be at least 75% of its height from the nearest lot line?
Yes, and I think the zoning drawings I provided clarify that.
And if not, which lot lines are located less than the setback?
Neither of them. We've met both frontage and
Will the
adjacent.
property be leased, or do you plan on purchasing the land?
We have reached a lease agreement with Jeremy and Carrie.
What portion of the property will be fenced?
Directly around the tower itself, so we are leasing I believe it's a 60 by 60 or 75 maybe foot square, and we will fencing a 50-foot area around the tower base itself.
Are there any utility structures planned within the fencing, and if so, how many and how large will they be?
This tower is being built for a 4-carrier structure, so there is lease space there for other carriers to put a concrete or some type of structure inside there, but our own equipment would just be a concrete pad with equipment on it.
Are you aware that the county has a long-standing policy of requiring highly visible paint and lighting schemes for all towers because of our intensive ag use and frequent aerial applications for growing crops?
Yes, this will be a painted tower and lighted according to FCC and FAA requirements.
Okay, what sort of safety lighting is being proposed?
Just for the flashing at the top and intermediates at the middle, daytime flashing.
Our code requires that you must prove that it is not feasible to build on any other existing tower in the area. Have you studied other towers in the area, and can you explain why they are not suitable for your equipment? I think you did, but
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, just pretty much what I stated before is that, in the Dakota area and our coverage needs on the southern part of Washera County, there isn't a tower in that location.
Our zoning code also requires that you must agree to lease additional space available on the tower to other companies at a fair market rate. Does your company have a co-location policy regarding sharing tower space? And will a tower be able to support other users' hardware?
Yes, yes, in both cases. It would be a 4-carrier tower.
Are you familiar with the county requirements regarding financial sureties for the removal of the tower if it is no longer needed?
Yes, and that's also written in the lease with the landowner.
Are you familiar with all other requirements, including FAA, FCC, and state building codes?
Yes.
Are you planning on installing a new driveway?
To the tower site itself, but we are looking to enhance the existing tower that is, I don't know if you've been able on the site, off of Highway Y, that I believe currently Jeremy is using for some access to the back of the property. So we're looking at building off of that and enhancing that.
Are you aware of the county's requirements regarding posting of emergency contact information?
Yes.
It looks as if you will need a new fire number, is that correct?
That's fine, yeah, we can provide that.
If approved, when would the tower construction be started?
Pending the outcome tonight, we would probably look at about 90 to 120 days. So 4 months, 5 months.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Any other committee questions? Okay, thank you. Correspondence, Terry?
Yes, we have a letter received on June 15th from the Town of Dakota addressed to the County Planning and Zoning Committee. The Town of Dakota Board is in full support of the conditional use permit application for Terry and Jeremiah Kabasta to erect a communications tower on their property. And then it lists the parcel number, and that's signed Barb Straczynski, clerk of the Town of Coloma. Dakota. I'm sorry, you're sitting right here. I get so confused.
It's okay.
Sorry, Town of Dakota. And then we received one on June 6th from Jeff Reby of Reby Spraying Service. It's addressed to Mark Kirschner and myself. Subject Cloud 1 250-foot self-supporting tower in the Town of Dakota, Section 30. The Cloud 1 250-foot communications tower in the Town of Dakota is in a location that will not have a significant impact on agricultural spraying by air. The self-supporting tower is a far safer tower to fly around because the tower itself is more visible and it does not have the invisible guy wires. Any part of a tower or guy wire which an airplane were to contact would be fatal to the occupants. So seeing and avoiding is the only protection from such hazards. Thus, dual lighting, daylight strobe, and night red incandescent, and high visibility paint is recommended. And that's signed sincerely, Jeff Reby. And that's it for correspondence.
Anyone in favor or object?
No one registered.
Registered? Staff comments, please.
Well, we're having another conditional use application. Again, this is something that we look at and try to put conditions on to keep it in keeping with the surrounding property owners. They are common in the general ag zone, which is where we are, or becoming more common because we're getting more and more towers. When the committee visited the property, they noted that visibility was good at the driveway location. Traffic to the site should be relatively light. The closest home that they saw was that of the property owner leasing the property for the tower, and they noted that all setbacks should be met. And the other thing was that the facility should have its own uniform address number in case of an emergency, and that emergency contact information must be posted per our code. And that's it.
Okay. Is there anything that the applicant would like to add?
No, unless there's any specific questions. I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes that application. Next application, Ryan Adler, Watoma, Wisconsin, Randy and Marilyn Adler, landowners, have made application for a conditional use in accordance with Section 58-664, Paragraph 2, Paragraph 9 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to establish an auto detailing and used auto sales utilizing an existing 30 by 80 building in a C-G general commercial zone. Location, a 1.0 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 1389, being part of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter, Section 10, Town 18 North, Range 8 East, Town of Coloma. Fire number W13124 North Front Street. Is the applicant present?
Hello, I'm Ryan Adler. What I would like to be doing up there with the building that my family owns is I would like to be running a wholesale business, basically with used cars. Everything that I'm going to be doing will be running to the auction, picking up a car, coming back to my shop, detailing it on the inside, running it back to the auction, and selling it. I am wanting my retail license just for the simple fact that if my mom needs a car, if somebody else that I know needs a car, I can sell it to them. The building, I'm not going to have anything outside the building. I'm not planning on parking any vehicles. I'm not planning on displaying any vehicles at this time or in the near future. And if I do in the near future, I will definitely go to the village and go back towards that way and ask for approval for it. Right now, like I said, it's just inside the building. That's all I'm going to use it for.
Okay. Committee questions, please?
Okay, you already described your proposed business. Will there be any employees outside of the immediate family?
I have no employees, but what we do have is we have a group of treatment foster kids that are within our family. Both myself and my mom and Doug also have treatment foster kids. At times, I will allow them to detail some vehicles for extra money on the side because they don't really have a chance to have a job. I did have that approved through our company that we work for, and they said, yeah, that's fine. So.
Okay. What sort of traffic do you anticipate, and what sort of parking do you think you will need?
Besides myself, I anticipate really no traffic.
Is an advertising sign being planned?
No. Well, by the state of Wisconsin, you have to have a sign up that's, I got it in the paper here, it's like 4x8 or something like that, with 4-inch letters that have to be up. There also has to be a sign on the door. That's just per state of Wisconsin. So I'm not going to put anything by the road. It'll probably be either on the building or right next to the building.
Okay. Have you contacted the state building inspector and know what codes you will need to meet?
The building inspector that I talked to was Fred Dulke. He said that I did not need to change it because I was not going to have any retail business inside the business.
What sort of sanitary facilities exist here, or are there any being planned?
I'm planning on putting a porta potty out back pending the outcome of this meeting.
Are there any additions or buildings planned other than what is indicated on the site plan?
No.
Will all activities be inside and no business or products stored outside?
There should not be anything outside.
Okay, you do not plan on doing any body work then?
No.
Engine repair work?
No.
Air conditioner work?
No.
Will you have cars waiting for service or pickup parked outside?
The only time that I would have anything parked outside would be, I guess, if I've got a couple that are waiting to go to the auction, like if the auction's coming to pick them up, that would be about the only time that I have them waiting outside.
Okay.
So in other words, they could be sitting out there for 2-3 days, maybe at the most?
No, a day maybe.
Okay.
Okay, will there be any cars for sale at this premise?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Has there been a recent survey done?
Not as far as I know.
But you do know where your lot lines are?
Yes.
If an approval is granted, when will you start this operation?
As soon as I possibly can. I have to submit an application through to the state as well after a zoning approval. And as soon as I get the information back from the state, I would like to start.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Any other committee questions? Fred or Joe?
Did you want me to pass the site plan and the pictures to the committee?
Yeah, you can.
You supplied that yesterday, I think.
I supplied the interior of the building. It's messy. We're having a rummage sale this weekend. So if you guys need anything, come on over. But other than that, the building will be cleaned out.
Okay, staff comments, or correspondence, please?
Correspondence. We do have a letter from the town of Coloma regarding Ryan Adler. The town of Coloma has no objections to Ryan Adler's conditional use request to open auto detailing and used auto sales. The property is located at W13124 North Front Street, town of Coloma, Waushara County, Wisconsin. And that's signed sincerely, Mark Kirschner, town of Coloma chairman. And we received that on June 15th. That's the only correspondence.
Anyone in favor?
We have one.
Marilyn Adler, speak in favor.
Butler. And I guess the land has been empty for a while, and it's kind of hallowed ground, let's put it that way, since Randy passed away, and it's kind of passing on to his son a business. And like he said, we are both treatment foster care people. It gives these kids, they're great kids. They suffered a lot of trauma, and it gives them a little detailing, a little money, a little pride. They're great kids.
Good.
That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much, Marilyn.
Then we have one to appear and speak for information only.
Alan Ackenberger, or is that right? Or yeah, okay, I know.
I'm Alan Ankner. I'm the owner of the property that surrounds it completely. I have the easement on the east side towards the village, and then the property all the way the north and the west. And I also am representing my mother, who has the property between my easement and Pestnest Pines there. There's approximately 5 acres in there. Generally, my concerns were basically about the septic, which was brought up, because I realized there's no septic system there. I was concerned about what kind of waste was going to be generated, being an auto detailing shop. Being an old ex-mechanic myself, I know what's generated when you're working on cars and stuff with the waste oils and the antifreezes and the tires and the brake dust and all that. So my concern was on what was going to be happening with that, where it was going to go to. As it stands right now, which is not Ryan's fault, but there are some abandoned tires on my mother's property from the previous people who had been there, just have not been removed yet. My other concern was the maintenance of the easement, with the amount of traffic, not knowing what kind of traffic was going to go in there. I want to know what was going to be done to maintain the easement on the bottom of the shared driveway down there. As of right now, I end up maintaining it as far as gravel needs and plowing and grading it. The village and the township do not maintain it beyond the barricade, so I'm the one who's been taking care of it. Hours of operation, that was a concern, whether they're going to be there all night. I know there's a highway there. You do get used to it after a while, and you do hear other noises that are generally something that you don't hear on a regular basis. Property lines are an issue. There are 2 stakes that I can locate on the southeast corner and the northwest corner. The northeast corner I cannot locate, and the southwest corner is, I believe, has been pushed away at a previous time when it was cleared off a little bit. And then Ryan mentioned something about having cars being brought in and out of the auction, which brought into me idea that are there going to be car haulers coming in there? Is there going to be a truck coming up and down the highway to take these cars away? Or are they going to be driven away? They're going to come in with another crew, or is somebody going to bring a semi up there and then put them on a semi and take them away on a semi? I'm neither for nor against it. I think it's a great thing if somebody can use the building. Businesses we need, but I do have these concerns.
Okay. Thank you very much. Staff comments, please.
Yes, we are down to our last conditional use for the evening. This is zone general commercial, but again, when you do any kind of auto work, it is a conditional use, even in the general commercial zone. When the committee visited the property, they noted that there was plenty of room for parking. There were questions about the details of the operation, which I think they asked quite a few of those questions, and what sanitary facilities would be provided, and that was also asked. So that's it for my comments.
Would the applicant like to have a rebuttal or any more information?
To answer our neighbor's question about the sanitary issues, if I do happen to change oil up there, we do have a holding tank that is cemented in, which is also pumped by people that burn waste oil. We do have, I forget his name off the top of my head, but he likes to come in there, or he used to come in there and take our waste oil out and burn it for himself. I do not have a waste oil burner, so I don't need it, but it is secured, it is enclosed, and there's a roof on it. As far as anything else, anything around the property that happens to be laying over on your side, I can go and clean up. That's no big deal.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our applications for tonight. Board of Adjustments will be meeting here next. We will conduct our business meeting in room 263, which is just outside the door to the right. So those of you that want to hear the outcome of the decisions tonight may come in that room with us. Thank you.
There's 3 variances to be heard by the committee that's sitting behind us. Is that you?
Yeah, that's next.
And this goes in your book, Bob.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, we got lots of
Duplicates.
I need to go through there and.
Here next, Larry.
Right. Right. The Board of Adjustments, nope, stay here. They're gonna have the public hearing for, there's 3 variants.
Not over yet. Just halfway.
You guys in Dakota have television yet, or will this be your first technology if you get a tower there?
Yeah, we will finally have flashing light in the sky.
Get rid of your crank phone?
Yeah, I no longer have to go ring, ding, ring. Hey, Roger, how do these cell tower people make any money? Is it every time a phone is on it or something?
Date is wrong, that's why I have it. This one, which? This is a new one, okay. Get rid of this one. Ready?
Sure.
I'll call this meeting with Washera County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Planning and Zoning Committee. Please remember to keep your comments brief and relative to the matter at hand. The same time limits will apply to testimony, which is 5 minutes for the applicant, outside of the committee questions, and 3 minutes for other testimony, including any rebuttal by the applicant. Anyone other than the applicant or representative wishing to speak at this meeting must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct their monthly meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Washera County Circuit Court. Information on appeals is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranties as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. Now, introduce the rest of the committee. To my left are Larry Tim, John Benz, Mark Schumacher, George Wilson. My name is Roger Wagner. First variance to be considered tonight, Stephen and Pamela Suring, Elm Grove, Wisconsin, have made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph 1, paragraph E, paragraph 2 and 3 of the Washera County Zoning Code to construct a 16 by 34 single-story addition on a basement and a 6 by 6 addition on a frost wall, along with interior remodeling, new foundation, new roof over entire structure. Improvements exceeding 25% of the additions of a 25% non-conforming due to side lot setback on a non-conforming lot, non-conforming due to lot width at the lake and the building site in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreland area. Location Lot 1 of Certified Survey Number 158 and easement volume 682, page 2, being part of Government Lot 1 and part of Lakeview Camp unrecorded plat being part of the northwest 1/4, the northwest 1/4, Section 2, Town of Mount Morris, Hills Lake, W5653 Youngs Lane. Could you come forward, please? Can you state your name for the record?
Pamela Searing.
And Steven Searing.
Okay. Do you have anything further to add at this time, or briefly summarize what you'd like to do out there?
Yeah, you had quite a mouthful there. I didn't know we were doing all that, but yes, we're putting a 16-foot addition off of the back of the lot. We're not approaching the lake side at all. Actually, Rick was out there last fall. This all started because of the storm last Labor Day. Very large tree went right through our roof. We had hoped to get this whole project going a lot sooner, but the insurance company had delayed until basically mid-April. Originally we were looking at knocking down the structure and putting a new structure on it. That's why we had Rick out, and he had measured the setback from the lake. The existing structure is approximately 85 feet already set back. We're not encroaching any further there. We're just going 16 feet behind it. We want to put in a basement so we can make this a year-round home. Because of all the damage that was done by the storm, that's why we're going to be gutting the inside. The other small, the 6x6 addition is actually done to conserve cost. Our contractor has told us that trying to fit 2 roof lines in would be more costly than taking the entire roof off and putting it on one. I don't really understand the construction of it all, but he said there's significant cost savings by putting that little 6x6 foot addition in the front. Again, that's not encroaching any further on the lake, just bumping it out. The only reason we've got the problem is the 2 side setbacks. We did locate all of the survey iron posts. We didn't have a survey done, but we did find all of the old iron posts, and we measured. The closest we came was on the east side of the property, and that was about 9.5 feet. The west side of the property was anywhere from 10.5 feet to 12 feet.
I guess, what made you change your mind from a total?
The insurance company wasn't going to declare it a total loss, and we've got financial constraints. I mean, there's no way we can go out and get any more additional financing because of the significant drop in value from, over the last few years. Property values have gone down. So, I mean, we've got budgetary constraints. I can't go to a bank and get, another mortgage. I basically can only use the money that's being provided from the insurance company to do the addition and the improvements that we're planning.
Okay. Just a few general questions then for the record. You stated you found all the iron stakes, but when was the last actual survey out there? Do you have a record of?
We got a copy of the last survey from now.
Okay.
And according to what you provided us, that survey was from 1974. I think that's the date on it. Okay. Okay. But that's the last time there was a survey there. But you did state you found all the others.
We found all the stakes, actually. If, you know, if you were going to split hairs or something, our neighbor to the east has actually built her tiny little retaining wall on the other side of that property line. And actually, she has one of these carports, which is also, you know, maybe an inch or two on the other side of where the stake would showed up.
Okay, have you talked to the neighbors in the township about this project? Okay, they're in favor of it?
So they're as anxious for us to get underway as we are.
Okay. What type of foundation will this be placed on?
Well, they've got these concrete forms now. It's a type of a styrofoam form that you then pour concrete in. I'm really not familiar. It's not a poured concrete wall. Originally, they were going to put in block, and they've said that, again, the labor-saving measure are these forms. I believe they said they were like styrofoam forms that you then fill with concrete.
But it's not a basement. It's is it going to be a crawl space or just a frost wall?
There'll be a frost wall, but in the back there is a basement.
No, yeah, we were going to put in a full basement on the 16 by 34-foot addition, and then there was a frost wall that was going around the rest of the perimeter. But it wasn't going to be just a crawl space. I really kind of wanted a basement for storage.
About how far above the existing grade will the first floor be? In other words, are you going to bring in a lot of fill, or is it going to be fairly close to?
Yeah, I don't. Well, our contractor's actually our neighbor, so he was talking about possibly seeing if he could lift it up a few inches, but that would be about the extent of it. Otherwise, he's going to be trying to put in the basement and the addition level with where the existing structure is. And we've had some situations in the past, heavy rains where, you know, you get a lot of water coming through, but the property owner 3 houses down who just put in a new house had that driveway regraded, and in the last year there's really been little or no problems with water runoff.
This will be a single story then when you're done?
Yes.
Okay. How do you plan on dealing with the erosion or stormwater runoff during construction, silt fences and that type thing?
We talked with land conservation, and they gave us a plan. He basically said all we need is a silt fence out in the front.
Okay.
Front being the lakeside.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
If I can get the insurance company talked into it, I'd like to put a garage on behind what the addition would be, but I understand I would just have to come back here for another variance if I were able. Right now, I do not have it, but there's still a possibility I may be able to get some more money out of the insurance company, in which case I would like to put a garage on.
So all other setbacks will be met, and you're basically using the same footprint?
Exactly.
Okay. What kind of shape is the septic system in?
Put in new in 2002 or 2003.
Okay. Are there any other non-conforming structures, or are you planning on removing any of those?
I would, the shed that's in the back part of the lot is going to be coming down as soon as I could get a garage up, or actually the shed will probably be coming down regardless. Either way, if I can get a full basement, then I've got the storage, you know, that shed is in Actually, if you looked at it, I've got a raspberry bush growing on the roof of it.
What about the boathouse? It's a two-story boathouse that doesn't conform to current standards. Do you have any plans on doing anything with that?
No, not at all. You know, I've been trying to maintain it. There's been some problem with the southwest corner. The slab has cracked, and I can see some of the brick is starting to separate somewhat, but that seems to have been minimized in the last few years.
Well, according to the on-sites that were furnished to this board, zoning staff mentioned that the board does look at other non-conforming structures on the property, and a two-story boathouse is not allowed under today's standards. So it is within the purview of this board to look at all the other non-conforming structures in the variance application. And I just wanted to make you aware of that is something we are obligated to look at. Okay.
The boathouse was built in 1959.
Yep.
That I only know because somebody, Kavanaugh, which were property owners, in 1959, scratched their names and the date in it.
But for the record, I just wanted to make you aware of that, and that it was mentioned in the notes when staff was out to talk to you about this. So that is something we're going to have to look at.
What are the hardships and unique property limitations here that would support this variance?
The property width where the structure is only 50 feet wide. 15-foot setbacks on each side, you know, renders it virtually impossible to put any other type of a conforming structure. That and the budgetary constraints that I have, that's not a concern, but really it's the 15-foot setbacks. The only thing I could put in there is an 18-foot wide house, and that basically limits me to, you know, a house trailer. I really don't want to do that, and that I know that my neighbors would have some issues with.
Do you know what permits you'll need to do this construction?
I don't personally. My contractor is well aware, and he was ready to come in tomorrow if we get an approval.
So you want to do something as soon as possible, is that it?
I really need something year-round. I've established a business in town here about 8 years ago. I'm a CPA, and so the winter is the time that I'm up here almost as much as the summer. And I need, you know, a year-round home in order to, you know, facilitate my business. I come up in the winter a minimum of 2 days a week, and that I need a place to stay.
Any other committee questions at this time?
When I add together some of your dimensions, when you said you found the stakes, I think we come out to having almost 55 to 57 feet in width there.
It would only be back closer to where the driveway is.
Well, you say the existing cottage is 11 feet 2 inches from the west lot line, and then the total length is 34, and then we're 10 feet from the other lot line. 21 and 34 comes out to 55 when I add it together.
When I said the setback, the 9 and the 11, I was including 1.5 feet of the overhang on the roof. I I was told then, I believe by Rick, that you go right to the structure. If you look at the roof line hangs 16 to 18 inches over on each side.
So your addition really isn't 16 by 34, it's
No, the
less than that?
structure is the width of the building is 34 feet. Existing right now, there's an overhang, the roof hangs over another 16 to 18 inches. That overhang wouldn't be there with the new roof that would be put on top. Therefore, the setbacks would be an additional 1.5 feet on each side. The existing would be. I think if I'm reading, you're adding up.
I'm adding up your
34.
dimensions on your site plan. So we got 34 and 10 and 11. So why does that not add up to 55? And you're telling me the house itself is 34. And we got 10 on the east and 11 on the west.
From his
Do you understand?
dimensions here,
There's a page in there with 2 sets of dimensions that he gave me, and I used the ones from the wall or the foundation of the building to use in the application, so that should be.
So the one with the red writing? Where it's 10 and closer to 9? This is to the overhang then. So to the building, this is the correct one.
Correct. That's what
So 10 and 34 and 11 is still 55.
Yeah, that's what the ones on that plan are the dimensions.
Are without the overhang.
Match what he said, minus the overhang, correct.
Okay, so if your lot's 55 feet wide at the narrowest part, you could certainly get something in there that's wider than 18 feet. It could be 24, 25 conceivably, but you usually build 24. I just wanted to clarify that. And that's based on your dimensions that you measured.
I know the lot does.
Yeah, because then if you add up in the back, I think it's closer to 57 or something like that. And then, has your contractor said that the existing cottage will support all that's going to be done to it? I mean, it's sound other than the damage and...
That's a lot of the issues that I've had with the insurance company. They've gone through it, both the insurance company and the contractor, and said, yeah, the foundation, where the existing structure is, the footing should be sufficed. Actually, because they're going to take off the old roof and put on a new one that'll go from side to side, it should support it better, but
And the walls are all okay? They can leave those?
the back wall has already been separated, but that's the wall that we would be taking out. That wall actually separated a good 3 or 4 inches from the roof. Until you would really open up the walls, I have no idea if there's any further damage, but that would be part of the repair process.
Well, you are asking the committee to add on to the existing cottage, not tear down and rebuild. You understand that? Okay, I just want to make sure that that's clear. And if there's a problem when you start trying to add on to it where you have to tear it down, then we've got another problem, because that's not what the variance would be for.
We're not.
Granted. That's it for me.
Any other questions?
Well, on one of the things that you filled out, you said under unique property limitations, that it's a 50-foot width of the lot prevents normal construction of another home. That's not really true. If it's 55 feet, as Terry's pointed out, the ability to build a 24 or 25-foot home in there still exists. And I don't think the only option you have is to cob together something that's going to be a boar's nest to finish from your contractor's point of view, I'm sure. You have other options. So there's unique property limitations, but the 50-foot width is, or 55.
Well, but
as it turns out.
that would mean tearing down and putting up a new structure.
Correct.
But I have no means of doing that.
This board recently had another case earlier this year where we granted somebody a permission to build onto an existing cottage, and after they had the new addition partly completed, they discovered that the original cottage wasn't worth saving, and that it had more problems than they anticipated. Then they came back and wanted us to grant permission to build a new cottage onto the addition that they had started, and they ended up that the original wasn't in compliance to start with, and it just created a whole bunch of problems. And I'd hate to see you get into that kind of a situation that this other party did.
Looking at the building too, the windows are all going to have to be replaced, it looks like. You know, they're just good money going after bad, looks like to me.
We have every intention of replacing all of the windows. They were going to put a patio door in the front, and
I think what we might be saying is...
I mean, this is the bid that I got from my contractor saying that, yes, with this money, he can do this, and that's what I'm going on. I can't, I mean, I've looked at Paramount Homes. Putting any type of a structure is way in excess of, any type of a new structure is way in excess of anything that I can afford.
But you can fix up what was damaged by the storm without a variance. Correct? So it isn't like you don't have other alternatives. I mean, you can take that insurance money and you can repair what was damaged by the storm. And you can actually do some improvements up to
25% of the square footage.
the square footage of the house without having to ask for permission from this board. And you're aware of that? Okay. So this variance is not to fix up what was damaged by the storm. This variance is to do additions and improvements that exceed 25% of the square footage of the home.
Both.
Right.
I mean, you have to understand the home is only 850 square feet. So
I understand this, but I don't.
Is only another 200 square. I mean, that's
right. But I just want, for the record, I want, for the record, I want it to be known that, this board isn't denying you the right to fix up something that was damaged by that storm. That's allowed by state law, okay? The request is to exceed beyond those repairs, and that's why we're having this variance. Yep.
Obviously, you saw,
Sure.
it's uninhabitable at this point in time. My intent is, my request for the variance is to be able to use this as a year-round structure. I don't believe I can do that without a variance. I need to put, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily need a 16-foot addition off of the back. I could probably get away with maybe 8, but that still would exceed the 25%, and I would still require a variance in order to convert this into a year-round home.
I believe you can add 6 foot on and stay within the 25%. That's with the 6x6 addition to square off the house.
Is that 6.5 feet, is that it?
And I believe what the board has been trying to tell you is that's an extremely old house. You're going to be doing an awful lot of work. It was made very poor construction years ago, 2x4. It's been sitting on posts all these years. It's conceivable to think that there's going to be more structural redoing than what you think might be. You're going to take off the siding, you're going to take off the windows, you're going to take off the doors, you're going to take off the roof. You have very little house left.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And then you're hoping that what's underneath that house is still structurally sound wood.
I understand completely, and that is exactly what I tried to tell my insurance company. And have them declare the entire property as a loss, and they absolutely refused. They have their structural engineers that came in. They gave me a report, and they have said, no, this property can be repaired, and it can be repaired.
Well, as George said, that's the option you have then, is you can repair it the way it sits, and you'd be made whole by your insurance company. You'd be made
That's
whole.
been my only option by the insurance company.
Okay, well, that may be your only option here too, we don't know.
If you'd care, here is the structural engineer report from the insurance company that says no, that the structure should not be torn down, it can be repaired, and it won't be declared a total loss by the insurance company. And that's what I would love for you to tell my insurance adjuster just that.
Well, we're not structural engineers, but on the other hand, we have to separate what you're asking for. And again, the board is not precluding you from fixing up what was damaged. Okay. That's not within the authority of this Board of Adjustments. But what you're asking for is more than just to repair the structure that was damaged. You're asking for the 16-foot addition, and you're asking for it to convert it from seasonal residence to year-round. And so regardless of what this board decides, you are allowed to fix up what was damaged and do slight additions not to exceed 25% of the square footage. You're allowed to do that. Okay.
It really wouldn't be practicable to do that.
Insurance companies thinks it is, they've got the structural things and everything.
For me, as I explained, I need a year-round home. And that's what I'm looking for, and that's why I'm asking for the variance. I understand the structure and the disrepair, but that's what I've been given from my contractor. I'm feeling, stuck in between everyone, but, if my contractor says he can do this for the money that the insurance company will provide, if my insurance company says, this is all we're going to give you, that's what I've put in my application, and that's what I'm asking for.
Just to let you know too, that inconvenience is not a hardship. That's a convenience, you're looking for a convenience, but the hardship that you're having to deal with is the storm damage. That's your hardship. The rest of the stuff is a convenience to you.
The hardship are the side setbacks.
Anything else at this time?
The only other question I had of the applicant is, according to the on-sites of the zoning office, the building sewer comes out the east side of your cottage. Then it runs parallel with the cottage, and then it cuts across the back to the septic tank. And if the plumber's drawings are anywhere close to being accurate, that 16-foot addition looks like it might go over that building sewer. Okay? And if that's the case, then there's going to have to be some modification made to that building sewer.
That part of the estimate that I had was from a septic contractor who was going to cap the existing septic and then was going to bring it into the basement. I mean, I believe it cuts
Gotcha.
diagonally right across the basement, or where the proposed basement is.
So you'd come into the north side of the addition then?
Yes.
Instead of coming into, okay, that answers my question. Yep, I understand that. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I guess you can have a seat then. Any correspondence?
Yes, we received an email from the DNR yesterday addressed to me. Terry, I'm writing to provide comments regarding the Searing and Anderson property variance requests that are to be heard before the Waushara County Board of Adjustments on Thursday, June 21st, 2012. Thank you for your time and assistance in discussing these requests and providing me with application materials. I am providing these comments in place of making an appearance in person. Please have them delivered to and/or read before the Board of Adjustments. And regarding the Searing request, the department understands the home lies behind the ordinary high water mark setback. Thus, the department's only comment is that it does not believe the explanations provided in the application meet the standards for granting a variance. Specifically, the department does not believe the applicant has demonstrated meeting the unnecessary hardness criterion required for granting a variance. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. And thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding the Searing and Anderson property variance requests. Please contact me if you have any questions regarding this email. And that's signed Michael Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources. And that's it for correspondence, and no one registered to speak on this application.
Staff comments?
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and the other two applications that they will be considering tonight. And they also visited all the properties and viewed the proposals and their location on site. At this time, I'd like to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons. These include an unnecessary hardship is being caused by the code requirement. There are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards. And finally, if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It is the applicant's responsibility to present the case and provide the burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, or nearby violations are some of the things that cannot be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that a new home of modest width could be constructed that meets setbacks. A variance would still be necessary before building on a non-conforming lot because of the lot width. And the two-story boathouse and a storage shed on the property both appear to be non-conforming as well. And that's it for my comments.
The applicant have anything in rebuttal to anything stated?
No, sir, I didn't really understand the DNR's comments, but I'm more than 75% back.
Actually, you are not more than 75 feet back. There's an average that applies to your property, and you exceed the average because your neighbors are closer. So you're really not more than 75 feet back, but you do exceed the average. And he says that you will meet the required water setback. but that you haven't met those statutory criteria for a variance, in his opinion.
Okay, the next variance to be considered, Michael and Annette Rena Anderson, Watomo, Wisconsin, have made an application for variance after the fact in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 2 of the Washare County zoning code to construct a 8 by 12 foot three-season room coming to within 11.5 feet of the westerly side lot line, 15-foot setback required in the RS 20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 6167, being all of Lot number 154 and part of Lot 155 of Lake Alpine Plat, being part of the northeast one quarter, the southeast one quarter, Section 4, Town of Marion, N 2433 Alpine Drive. Applicant present? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Good evening, I'm Michael Anderson.
Okay. Okay. Anything you'd like to add at this time? Otherwise, we've just got some general questions. Take the questions, okay. Has there been a recent survey out there?
Yes, there has.
And you know where all those stakes and lot lines are?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And have you talked to the neighbors in the township about this project?
Yes, we have.
And their response?
That no one has any issues with it. We've had good support with it.
And what type of foundation was the addition placed on?
The addition was, again, a rebuild from the September 2nd storm. The foundation was just a standard 4-inch slab that was 8 feet 12 or 8 by 12 feet. So what we've actually done with it was cut it back a foot and made it 7 by 11, so that per code we had to put frost walls in it. We put frost walls in it and then rebuilt on top to so it's the exact same square footage. We just changed the roof line due to tying in issues with tying in the roof into the rest of the house.
Okay. So you're actually smaller than you were prior to. Okay. And both additions were done to repair storm damage, is that correct?
That is correct.
And I think you've already explained that the reason for the screen porch was upgraded to the three-season room. Can you?
It was a code issue. Previously, before it was a slant roof that tied into the rest of the house. The angle of it, the pitch wasn't considered code. And to increase the end of it, when you were to stand at the very end, I'm just under 6 foot, and I had to duck down to look out the screens. So to bring that roof up to where it was code height, it would have to have the right pitch on it. It would go all the way up, and we'd have to tear out our bathroom upstairs just to match this roof. And that's where the engineer had said if we just go with a gable roof, we can get the right height on the end and not have to tear into the rest of the roof and be able to manage this in budget and without any issues.
Okay. Stormwater runoff is not a problem there. Okay. Any other improvements planned at this time?
Grass.
Okay. Any other setbacks? All other setbacks will be met, is that correct?
All other setbacks will be met.
Yep. Septic system is okay and properly sized?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you know what permits you're going to need, and when was the structure completed? Okay. Okay.
So my understanding is that it isn't like you built without permits. You got all the permits.
Correct.
And you repaired it, and then afterwards, then there was a survey done, and that's when you found it was a little too close, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, you've got all your permits, it's just a matter of, the survey was done afterwards, and they discovered that that existing addition was a little bit too close.
Correct. It was hard to actually even see the lot lines. We did have the pegs in there before when it was done 2.5 years ago when we purchased it. The pegs were still in there, but because of all the trees and the growth, and we'd even tried using a string line just to find out where is our property line. Tied it from one, took it to the other, and the string kept breaking. There's just so much brush with all the trees and everything. So we figured we're pretty much in the ballpark, and we kept it on the same existing slab, just a tad bit shorter. But because of it was brought to our attention on that we were not.
Okay.
The permit was for a screen porch, so if there was a approval considered, it probably should be amended to reflect what actually took place, because it kind of upgraded to a 3 Seasons room, and then we should probably have the variance mentioned in there and no closer to the side lot line than the existing structure was.
Okay. Any other committee questions? Okay. Larry?
Does the zoning office do anything in particular to prevent this type of thing from happening?
If they didn't know they were too close to the lot line, we weren't gonna know that they were too close to the lot line, because we don't.
There's no
go out and
requirements
survey.
that those kind of things be checked?
We would ask them where their lot line was, and we did when they came in for the permit, and they said they met the setback.
We brought in the survey
We don't
map as
require a survey.
Bought it.
I mean, I'm
At
just
the
wondering
time
how
of
we can
getting a
prevent this
permit.
from happening again in the future.
You'd have to have everyone get a survey when they got their land use permit and show the improvements on there. I mean, I'm not sure you would prevent all of them, without that. That would be the only way that I can think of.
Does someone go out and look at the property beforehand?
Not if they don't suspect there's a problem. I mean, these people, I'm sure, thought they were 15 feet from the side lot line. It wasn't until the trees came down and they had the survey done and could really look at, they were not aware when they purchased it that it did not meet that setback.
So this sort of thing doesn't happen too often then?
Doesn't happen a lot, but it happens. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you it doesn't. People buy things that are too close to the lot line all the time, and they don't know until they get involved in a building project or have a survey done.
Kind of the same way when they put a new septic system in, the landowner and the plumber cooperatively determine where they think the lot line is. And if they're confident, the permits are issued. If they're not, we recommend they get a survey, but there's nothing that makes us require that. Okay, so I guess it's on the honor system in a way.
And we have discussed making everyone get a survey before they get a land use permit. It's just, in some cases, it would add a lot of cost to the project, and there's really not a problem, so we've never gone that way. Do counties like Kenosha make you do that? Probably. I mean, I think in some of our more urban counties, it happens all the time, but the only way that I can see that we would prevent this is to require a survey every time someone does a building project.
Just that the Alpine subdivision isn't as old as a lot of our subdivisions.
Right, but obviously the house was built too close to the lot line when it was built back in 80-something, I'm guessing. Oh, 60-something. So it was built too close a long time ago.
Do you know who built the house?
By hand.
Was it?
Yeah,
That was my guess. 'Cause, well, I just knew that Vern had built a log home somewhere in that area. And when we were out there, I kind of went.
That have helped on stripping logs for it.
Yeah.
Growing up as kids, a lot of people had worked on that house.
So now you know who to blame.
Okay, if there's no other questions, you can have a chair, I guess. Correspondence?
Oh, yes. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'll read that one last. I think
Okay.
we'll start, because we have a couple in favor. This one is from Sandra Smith and Robert W. Smith. Dear Sirs, we've been informed that the new construction next door to our property has exceeded the recommended setback distance by approximately 3.5 feet. Apparently, the mistake was not discovered until the work was almost complete. Mike and Renee Anderson are seeking a variance to address their problem. We have no objection to their getting this variance. Our lot is number 153. If you need any other information from us, we can be reached at the following phone number. And again, that was from Sandra and Robert Smith, received on June 13th. Also on June 13th, we received one to Waukesha County zoning, but I'm pretty sure it came to the right place. I, Jean Behringer, have no problem regarding Mr. and Mrs. Michael Anderson having the variance, and that's signed Jean Behringer of lot number 156.
And Behringers are the affected property owners, if I'm not mistaken, according to the map? And Smiths are on the other side?
No, 153 is. Smiths are the affected property owner.
Okay,
First letter.
okay, yep. Yeah, I'm looking at coming off the wrong road. You're right. Smiths are the affected property owners. I gotcha.
And also on June 13th, we received a letter from the Alpine Protection and Rehabilitation District addressed to the Zoning Commission. The Alpine Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District has no concerns with the variance requested by Michael and Rena Anderson. What is it? I'm reading Renee. Michael and Renee Anderson of N2433 Alpine Drive for side lot distance. And that signed Robert D. Harma, H-A-R-M-A, Chairman. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we...
Who's that again?
Robert Harma, H-A-R-M-A, the Chairman of Alpine Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District. And then, in the same email that the DNR sent regarding Searings, there's all the please provide these comments and all that. Regarding the Anderson request, it says the department's only comment is that it does not believe the explanations provided in the application meet the standards for granting a variance. Specifically, the department does not believe the applicant has demonstrated meeting the unnecessary hardness and unique property limitations criteria required for being granted a variance. And again, that was signed by Mike Wenholtz, DNR. And that's it for correspondence.
Staff comments? No one registered.
Right. Again, it's the applicant's responsibility to present their case and provide the burden of proof. This one seems to be a little bit different than the other one in that it was replacing exactly what was there, which is allowed by statutory exemption. It's just that it needed to be brought up to code and then was expanded a little bit by going from a screen porch to a 3 seasons room. When the board visited the property, they noted that there were no other non-conforming structures. The replacement was done to correct damage after the Labor Day weekend storm. The structure has the same footprint or smaller than the screen porch that was there previously, and the addition is not visible from the public road. And that's it for my comments.
Okay, going on to the final variance tonight then. Ivan,
Did you ask them if they had anything else to?
do you have anything, Ramon? Okay. Ivan Gotan and Patricia Newcomb, London, UK. Paul Miller, landowner, have made an application for a variance in accordance with section 42-81, paragraph C of Washera County Subdivision Code to extend Elizabeth Lane to the south line of the northeast one quarter, the northwest one quarter, and create a cul-de-sac 1,300 feet in length, 1,000 maximum length allowed in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location: an approximate 340-foot plus or minus strip of land of varying width, being part of Lot 4 of Certified Survey Map number 5930, being part of the southeast one quarter, the northwest one quarter, Section 10, Town of Hancock, Elizabeth Lane.
Good evening. My name is Tom Trzynski. I work for Lampert Lee & Associates. We're an engineering and surveying company out of Wisconsin Rapids.
Could I have your name again, please?
Tom Trzynski, Trzynski. Yep, just like it sounds. And we are representing Ivan and Patricia in this matter. Their business is in England, and so they are not here most of the year at the present time. They have purchased this property 4 or 5 years ago with the intent to, on the property, establish a KOA campground. And as for access to that proposed campground, they are looking to extend Elizabeth Lane up to their property line from the south. At the present time, they would have access to the property on the north via Beechnut Avenue, but for safety concerns and ease of access to this campground, Elizabeth Lane off of Beechnut Road would make a shorter passageway, and it would also make you would not be having all this traffic travel on 4th Avenue for a half mile and then coming back on another dead-end road, Beechnut Avenue, for another half mile before you get to this property. What they're designed in terms of for the campground hasn't been established yet, because access to the property is kind of will depend on what kind of design they do with the campground itself. There is a existing residential structure on the north side that they plan on living in the future, and there's a second house also on Beechnut Avenue that by eliminating all this traffic past these two houses would make it better for those neighbors. There's one existing house on Elizabeth Lane, but they also use that house for commercial property purposes. So an additional commercial use on this road we don't feel would be a hindrance to those people. Whereas going on Beechnut Avenue, you would be driving by some additional residential properties.
So your clients will be purchasing this strip of land from Paul Miller then, is that it?
That is correct. They will be reimbursing Paul Miller himself would donate the land or dedicate it to the town as a town road. They would reimburse him for the acreage involved in that, kind of eliminating one step where we'd have to create an outlot for there to be a transfer, and then they would have to dedicate it.
Just some general questions then for the record, if you were done. Has there been a recent survey out there?
The property that the road would be coming out of has been recently surveyed.
Okay.
The property owned by the Geitens, there was a site survey done in 2010.
Okay. You're sure of everything? It sounds like all your requirements you're going to meet that would have to be met to extend the road?
That's correct. The road would be built to town standards and also to state standards regarding emergency vehicle turnarounds.
And I take it you've talked with the town about this already?
Yes, we have.
And they've indicated they will accept the road when it's brought up to standards?
That is correct. They would prefer, and also the landowners would prefer that the road extended to their property line as opposed to the road being where it is and then some sort of easement across that north 300 feet, or just selling a strip with a driveway that would go 300 feet into the site. So everybody feels that the extension of the road would be the best.
And your second, are you going to have a cul-de-sac on the other end of it now too? Or is it just going into the camp property?
No, there would be a cul-de-sac, a full cul-de-sac meeting emergency vehicle turnaround requirements and town standards for a cul-de-sac.
What's going to happen with the first one? Are you going to?
Well, Paul, as the landowner in question at the present time, would prefer the present cul-de-sac to stay there, not knowing how this development or any future development of his land might be affected. So his preference would be for it to stay at the present time.
Okay.
You don't think people are going to be tempted to turn around in the middle of the road there, and then there'll be other traffic? That was one concern that was expressed to me by the county surveyor.
That is a possibility for that to happen. It's also a very good possibility that people also park there, extra guests or whatever, and use it as a parking area. So
then it could potentially block the road too?
Well, The main roadway would be, you know, the one side would be kind of cut off when we design it, whereas, and then the whole bubble is kind of to one side, so that whole extra bubble would not be blocking the road, because we're gonna be kind of using the west half of the cul-de-sac for the road extension. So it'd just be the east half of the bubble that would.
You're gonna take one side of it off, basically.
Yeah, well, the way, yes, that's correct, yep. The west side, most of it will be used for the extension, the way the extension's gonna happen.
We're discussing leaving this the same way as our site plan is now, with the bubble on the east side.
Well, no, actually, we're talking about leaving the.
Which cul-de-sac are you talking about?
The existing, they're talking about leaving the whole roadway mat and asphalt for the first cul-de-sac that's already there, still there, and then just putting a second cul-de-sac 300 feet down, and not removing the asphalt and the gravel from the existing cul-de-sac.
That was discussed to replace the road back to its original condition without the bubble on either side. And they're
proposing to
preferring,
leave.
that would be the town of Hancock would be preferring
Saying.
Well,
to leave it.
do we have a jurisdiction over roadways like that?
Yeah, it needs to
I
meet
mean-
county standards. I mean, it's in the, you know, there are road standards in the county code.
Most
In the
road
zoning
standards,
code
they'll
you're talking
require
about.
a minimum width. They don't
Doesn't
address
specify a
it.
maximum.
Yeah.
You're talking about zoning code.
Yes. Subdivision code, yep.
There'll be enough room at the end of the second cul-de-sac to turn around, though, is correct?
That is correct.
And I think you've addressed the hardship and the unique limitations as far as access to the property, as far as safety, and it's gonna make it a lot safer coming in there.
Yes, and what, through the proposed campground, there would be an exit out the other side. So emergency vehicles wouldn't you know, it'd probably be, in most instances like this, it would be a gravel road that would be gated with the fire department having a key to that gate. So if they had to use other access as opposed to turning around, that will be available as part of the design of the campground.
But the intent is for this road extension to be the main access to the campground.
That is correct.
And you'd leave the north access for emergency purposes.
That is correct.
Well, and it'll have to stay for access to the home that's there if they're.
That's
gonna-
correct. Yep, they do have a driveway, and they also do have a second driveway off to the west of the house that presently is used to access to the back.
I think you've addressed it already. If it was approved, you know all of the standards and the transfer of ownership over to the town. You've kind of addressed that.
Yes, we are aware of those.
And when do you plan on making the improvements to this road?
They have started working on some of fencing and stuff around the campground area this year, and we will have to finish the design for the road this year. They will not be opening, it'll be a spring to fall campground, so construction may begin this year. I do not know for sure that they're planning on even opening next year, because they have not done anything regarding their septic design yet or their water distribution system. So the earliest it would be late fall, if not next spring.
Any other committee questions?
Well, I've got a question for Terry. If this variance would be approved and it would change the configuration of the campground, is there going to be a need for an approval by the zoning committee?
I don't believe so, because it was a zone change for a campground. There's probably a maximum number of sites listed
So
in there.
if the lots stay the same, and, you know, you probably wouldn't have to go back to the zoning committee then? Okay, okay.
So the campground's already been approved?
Yep, that was approved
And
several years ago.
That was a zone change, yep.
And to clarify the existing cul-de-sac? Are our standards requiring that to be changed to 66 foot with a 22 foot, whatever it is,
Well,
paved?
like he said, it is a minimum width that's specified, so I guess if you're looking at that, you know, you can only specify the minimum width. It would be up to this board if you think it's gonna be a safety concern. And it was something that was mentioned to me by the county surveyor, is that when you have that and people start turning around or doing other things, now you go to the end of the road and they're doing it again, or they're coming in and out of the campground, that it could be a safety problem. And he thought it might be a good idea to try to narrow that back down again, so you don't create that problem 300 feet from the end of the new road. But,
And I guess I do want to make it clear that it wasn't necessarily the town's preference that it stay, but Paul Miller as, not the town chairman, but Paul Miller as the budding landowner, that would prefer that it stayed.
So you wouldn't be actually putting this piece of the blacktop down for what, a year at least?
I don't know that for sure. It could be done this fall. Yeah. I don't know how aggressive Ivan and Patricia are being with this project. In 2010 was the original plans were done, and now it's 2 years later, and
they're changing.
they're changing, right? Their whole layout for the campground is changing because of the access thing, which also changes their septic, which also changes their water, which kind of changes everything. Plus, the gentleman that had designed their septic permit has retired and moved to the state of Oregon, so they will be kind of starting over with that. And probably, well, and just like everything, there's probably 20 new laws regarding
Yeah, I
some
was
of
gonna
these
say
issues
that
in the last 2 years.
Approval of a campground isn't a real speedy process either, so when they're changing everything, it will take a while. I don't know how long.
And plus, there are certain requirements they have to meet to be a KOA campground, so they are making sure that they're in compliance with all those things also, so that they can be certified by them.
If that was really a concern of Mr. Miller's, I guess he could just paint white lines down to make that road size, that make that first cul-de-sac road size. And if he wanted to, he could put in some stakes or something, I suppose. He obviously doesn't want to tear it out.
Right, well, for his benefit, yes. Yeah, because not knowing how his land to the east of there or his daughter's land to the west might get developed, it might be a beneficial use at a later date. Yeah. Plus, it does also create additional road frontage when it comes to subdividing that would be available.
Well, when the applicants went through the zone change, they made the statement that that campground was dependent in part upon the visibility to I-39 system and its availability. And when you look at that, and you look at everybody pulling a trailer or a fifth wheel and having to go all the way kind of around the block to come in the north side versus a quick on and off access, it certainly looks like it's a much safer and more practical situation.
And I don't believe Beechnut Avenue to the north is built to these same road standards. It does have a pretty steep slope and it's pretty narrow. I don't know that you can necessarily fit two big trucks pulling campers side by side down that road. Yeah.
Well, this would be more safe for emergency vehicles, et cetera, too, so it's a good idea.
No, Elizabeth Lane, as it's presently laid out, is a public road.
Correct, to that current cul-de-sac. And it will become a public road to the property line with another cul-de-sac at the end, if this is approved. That's what they're saying.
Was this a concern at all of the zoning committee when they had their hearing?
The access?
Yeah, accesses.
There was some discussion about it, that it would be nice if they could come in from the south for all the reasons that we've mentioned, but they hadn't worked out all the details with the property owner, so 2 years later, they must have worked out the details, and here we are today.
Okay, I don't think we have anything else for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any correspondence?
No correspondence and no one else registered.
Staff comments?
DNR doesn't care about this one?
It used to be.
That's because the lake's gone.
Staff comments?
When the board visited the property, they noted that the second cul-de-sac bulb and that it might need to meet county requirements. There was some concern about that. Wanted to make sure that the diameter of the second cul-de-sac met county requirements. And this would definitely provide a second access to a proposed campground on the property to the north, which should be beneficial to the surrounding neighbors, not having all the traffic go by them. That's it.
Okay, that'll close the public hearing for the Board of Adjustments. We will go right into our business meeting, at which time we will vote on how the applications